LeBron recently said ring culture has hurt the game. It's basically that judging greatness only by championships disrespect legends like Iverson and Barkley. Do you agree with that?
I definitely agree with him. I think that, our narrative and our stories have been in the hands of, media or reporters, and it's like their opinion, right? And not to disrespect, them in the game because they play a big part of the game, but the stories should be told from the players themselves, right? The perspective of who they are and what we mean. And so when you think about ring culture, it's becoming, something that's kind of like corporatizing or stealing the conversation about really what this game is about. It's, you as a kid play basketball to fit in on a team, right? And develop a game and a style that ultimately evolves into, you know, Draymond Green, Hall of Fame, right? So your accolades is one thing, but it's more so like your story, your journey, right? What you did, how you get there, how you overcame, right? And so as overachievers, right, people who don't necessarily understand that can paint whatever picture that they want to paint for you in your time in the league. So, for me, I think when you just talk about dudes who get rings, or you just say like, oh, these dudes who got rings are the only ones capable of running teams and things like that, then you really mess up the culture because, as you know, not everybody on the team is qualified and capable. And if they were not, some of them, if they were not on that team, right, they are replaceable. And then it limits the capacity for new rings and new people, right? We have so many great basketball players, great basketball minds in this game that they get underserved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Underappreciated. Their stories are undertold. Their highlights are, undersubscribed to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that ring culture it's kind of like a disease because depending on who you are, you can just jump out there and use your decorations and your merit, as something for media or fans to be like, oh, this dude is, I'm not saying you're not an expert because we all experts, but like you can paint whatever narrative you want. And that's what I don't like.
Well, I think ring culture took a big turn and came into play in large part due to the success of the Golden State Warriors.
I agree.
What I would say about what Brian said is this. I think ultimately what Brian was saying is what I took away from it is you get guys like a Stephen A. Here's what I took away from it verbatim. To me, it felt like Stephen A is someone who talks a lot about rings, and you don't know what it takes to win a ring because you've never won a ring and you've never gone through it. And you don't understand because you've never gone through it that sometimes when you get an opportunity to win and you don't kick that door down, it can change everything. And because you don't know how hard it is because you've never gone through it, then you start using it to lessen the greatness of some of the greats. And is having a ring important? Of course. Like, does it add to legacy? Does it stamp legacies? Absolutely. Not going to sit here and act like having rings or a ring don't matter. It does matter. But it doesn't make Barkley less great as he was. It doesn't make Allen Iverson less great than what they were. And I think when people use it, they use it to kind of dim the greatness, dim the light on guys. And that's what I felt like Brown was getting at. Like verbatim, I think, Stephen A. and him been having their thing. And to me, as soon as I heard it, I watched it, I was like, that's what I came away with it. It felt like he's talking directly to Stephen A. and those type of guys. And If you've never done it, you don't know how hard it is. So in turn,
You don't even know how hard it is to try and get there, man.
facts.
There are more great players than great players that won rings.
Yes. 1000%.
Right? So there are more great players who haven't won rings
Facts.
than the great players that have won rings.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the way we gotta look at it, is like that's what, like I was looking at Magic, right? I was on a little history of the game site, and I was going through Magic, and I was like, man, Magic had 5.
Mm-hmm.
That means in an entire decade, right? There were only 5 other winners. But Bird had what, 3?
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves 2 for damn near your career, right? You got you got you got a shot at being a champion in 2 of the 10 years that every 10 years you play.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact, though.
That's
a fact.
wild.
Like CP and James
That's
Harden,
wild.
if they don't run into us, they probably do win a championship.
Or at least have a chance.
You know? And so sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. But
They
that
do.
don't mean them guys aren't great. And that don't mean
Totally.
Chris Paul not a winner. Chris Paul is a winner. He just couldn't quite. It's so many things that have to go right for you to win a champ. It's not just like, oh, I played good and it's not like objective.
Preach,
like
bro.
It's not an object. It's very subjective. There's so many things that have to fall into place for it to happen. And so to just lessen someone's greatness because of it, I think that's wrong. I'm not saying, again, that having the rings don't matter. It fucking matter. When I walk in a room, I feel great about the 4 rings. It's a different energy. Of course,
it's
right?
a difference. It's a difference.
But that does not lessen someone else's greatness, because all of those things then fall in place for them to get the ring. And that's what I took away from it. That's what I felt like Bron was saying.
I hate when they talk about dudes as they get older, right? And as you get older, I didn't get that chance to experience that, but I think as I got older in my career, I would have want to play for championship teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think also, like, a big thing about the media is that we need to be celebrating these dudes on their way out.
Yeah.
Talking about who they were in their peak, showing the storyline, because obviously, Chris Paul today is definitely not the Chris Paul that I played against, right? And that was like, golly, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you want to watch, you tapping all the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we got to understand, like, and I would say this happened in the past a lot. We got to appreciate the evolution. And it's like a fine wine.
Yeah.
It's like classic hip hop, right? Like, these dudes came into the game as renegade painters, painted their style, and then on their exit, they became more of a more of like capsulizing their masterpiece in different forms.
That's a fact.
Right. And more so like what they leave into the game. So I just don't like that, because that should be pissing me off. Because you can talk about, you can, like, even Oscar Robertson said, Draymond Green just passed the ball to Steph Curry. Like, what pissed me off about that is, like, bro, like, you got to watch the body of work, homie.
Mm-hmm.
You have to watch the body of work, right?
Yep.
Or shut the fuck up, right? Mm-hmm. Or, and you don't just look at towards the end of somebody's career and say, oh, that is like the way we seen them. No, we got to paint the picture of, like, this is what they evolved into. This is the artist they evolved into. This is the statue. This is why D-Wade get a statue.
Yep.
Right? Like, we got to, like, start speaking more, in people's, like, in present day, and not just making, like, bold and wild ass statements without doing no research. Because then, I feel your sentiment now. Right? I feel your sentiment now, because We got to start highlighting the greatness. That's all. Because the media gonna talk to say what the fuck they gonna want to say about Draymond, or Draymond is this, or Chris Paul is that, or LeBron is this, or like we got to do a Katie is this. We got to do a better job of like speaking on their greatness.
That's a fact. Well, one thing's for certain, just because you were a great basketball player don't make you smart, and it don't make you know basketball. So, those two things can be mutually exclusive. And I
Yeah,
think in that case, it was very mutually
reporters too.
exclusive. Um,
Yeah.
so
All
that's
right,
my little single
big
shot. That's
news.
my little single shot for the day. Just because you were a great basketball player, I see this all the time. I see people say stuff, and I'll be like, somebody going to listen to that because they like, oh, that person was a great basketball player. They know. Listen, a lot of them be dumb too, and that was just a dumb statement in the show colors, and I'll leave that at that. So
And then to bring it full circle, people with rings are the same in the same category. So
facts.
you got to just respect great basketball minds. In big news, Desmond
Wait,
Bain gets
time out,
traded.
BD. I want to move on to that too, but I got something for you. I want to go ahead real quick
Yeah.
with that. All right, so to your point on as you age in this, and it's like this in sports, but I'm gonna tell you where else is prevalent like this. People don't allow athletes to age and appreciate, to your point, appreciate what they've
Right.
done. They try to make
Mm-hmm.
where they are then all of what they've done. You know where else that happened at, and I hate it, and I think it actually ruins the industry in a major way because you're not allowed the industry essentially ends up always starting over because you don't allow the greats to age and like appreciate just the age and process of it. You
Right.
want to always take it back to where it was. You know the other industry that's like that?
Music,
Bingo,
rap,
bingo,
rap,
bingo.
all day,
There's no, there's
all
no,
day.
there's no OG game in the rap game because we kick all the OGs out. And it's the same thing that's happened in basketball. As media has grown more prevalent in basketball and has gotten bigger and bigger, it's the same exact thing that happens in basketball and in sports in general, but really in basketball, and it's sad.